Hey, Don, wake up. We got to talk about sleep.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was sleeping, so I guess this is a good time to talk about sleep.
Yeah. So, hey guys, in this video, we're talking about sleeping. So, Don, there are lots of questions about this topic. How many hours should we sleep? What time should we go to bed? And this is a huge part of our health as well. So, definitely, people need to know all about that.
Sure. So let's talk about sleep. Sleep is one of the basics of health that you can't get too much of. Unlike sunshine, which you can get too much of and you get burned, or water, you can actually drink too much water, so you actually die from drinking too much water. And you can certainly get too much exercise and damage your body over the decades. But you can't get too much sleep. Your body simply won't let you get too much sleep. But you can get too little. And many people are underslept. And if you wake up to an alarm clock, you may be one of those people because an alarm clock makes it very easy to not get enough sleep.
Right.
Now, sleep for us is like plugging in our cell phones to recharge it. Okay, when we sleep, we recharge, and that's why we sleep. There was a long time where we knew we slept. Obviously, it was obvious that we slept, but we had no idea why we did it. This was, thousands of years ago. We finally figured it out. It's actually to recharge and the electrical energy, because a lot of us know that electrical energy is pulsing through our nerves. Well, where does that come from? It doesn't come from the sun. We literally recharge it. Um, so in that sense, it's like plugging in your phone to recharge. So we recharge, and if you don't get a good night's sleep, you won't recharge this, what we call nerve energy, this bank of nerve energy to 100%. So if you're constantly unplugging your cell phone before it gets to 100%, if you're constantly unplugging it at 75 and 80, and then it won't last as long. You won't be able to stay. It won't be able to stay awake as long as if you could charge it to 100%. And if you're getting less of this restorative sleep, which is, I don't want to get too technical in this little short video, but there's four phases of sleep: one, two, three, and four. One is the lightest, four is the deepest. And in phase four, you're as close to death as possible as you can be without dying. And that's where you get the most recharging done. In other words, your phone will recharge faster if you're not talking on it while it's plugged in to recharge. If you just
Right.
let it sleep there and recharge, that's where you get the fastest recharge and the best recharge. So if not getting a good night's sleep happens often enough, your health will, not may, it will suffer. But again, I always talk about the supply and demand side of things that we need. Sleep is the supply side of the supply and demand relationship. If you require more nerve energy for the things that your body is doing than you're designed to require, well, this can cause a nerve energy deficit also, just like undersleeping. Now, there's things that are the big consumers of nerve energy. The biggest consumers of this nerve energy, this electrical energy, is stress, physical activity, and digestion. In fact, of the three, digestion is actually the biggest. It's not the exercising that you're doing, it's digestion. So the easier that your digestion is, the healthier you can be. It takes a lot more nerve energy to digest an animal and grain based diet than to digest a fruit based diet. So the healthier that your diet is, the less sleep that you're going to need. And I can attest to that. There was a time that I needed about 8 hours of sleep. Now I need about 7 hours of sleep. So if you do the math, I get an extra hour of awake time during the day times 365 days times the rest of my life, which is going to be longer because I'm eating the healthiest diet. So I have a lot more awake time. So people who say, oh, there's only 24 hours in a day. Well, yeah, but how many of those hours are you going to sleep? It's
Mm-hmm.
much better to sleep 7 than 8 or 6 than 7. Now, overexercising is another cause of nerve energy deficit. And considering that your immune system also requires nerve energy, especially, for example, to eliminate a teeny tiny tumor that has been allowed to form because of unhealthy lifestyle habits, if you overdo exercise and eat a diet other than the one that all humans are designed to eat, that tiny tumor can stay ahead of the body's ability to deal with it and get slowly larger over time. So a nerve energy deficit is a major contributing factor to a diagnosis of something serious later in life. And I do have a good article on the importance of sleep, which you will find in the description below, and it contains ways to help you get a good night's sleep, which are too much to get into here. Um, how much time you need? Well, again, that's very individual. If you're in it really depends a lot on your state of health.
Hmm.
The healthier you are, the less sleep you need. The less healthy you are, the more sleep you need. Exercising. I know people who do a lot of balls to the wall exercising, and they need 12 hours of sleep
Right.
because they're over exercising. So if you now you don't want to under exercise either, that's bad for different reasons. So if you do a proper amount of exercise, which we'll talk about in another video, you'll get a proper amount of sleep for that, or you'll require a proper amount of sleep for that.
Right. And what are the best hours to go to sleep?
Well, think about when anyone has a question, I try and ask them, well, think back to nature when we lived in nature. How did we sleep then? There were no electric lights. We don't have great vision for nighttime. We don't have good nighttime vision. So when the light disappeared, we just went to sleep. And then the
Hmm.
light came up again and shines through our eyelids and wakes us up and we wake up.
Yeah.
Now, that works when we live close to the equator as far as how much daylight you get. Now, you start moving away from the equator and farther north or south, and that whole light amount of light during the course of the day changes. It changes during the course of the year. I would hate to live in Alaska where there are some times of the year where it doesn't get dark at all, and sometimes of the year it doesn't get light at all. That's got to be horrible. But what we do nowadays is we keep the sun up until, let's say, 11 o'clock at night, way past the time that the sun has actually disappeared. And we keep it up with electric light bulbs. So then what happens? We go lie down in bed, turn off the light, and things get dark instantly. And our brain goes, what the heck is this? So some people have a problem falling asleep because their brain wasn't prepared for sleep by the sun slowly getting lower and lower. That makes the brain produce melatonin and prepares you for sleep. So that's one reason people have a problem falling asleep. Problems also, of stress and worrying about things can cause you to have a problem falling asleep too. But just that not being having the brain prepared for sleep. So there is a neat clock, or actually it's a lamp, but it's a lamp alarm clock, and you push the button on it, and the lamp gets lower and lower and lower and lower, slowly, 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 and helps prepare the brain for sleep. That's helped a lot of people. When you take away the natural lifestyle of a human being in this case, the body tries to compensate. So normally melatonin would be made as the light level decreases. And then when it's totally dark, you have maximum melatonin and you fall asleep. But again, like I said before, we keep the sun up way past sunset. So we keep it up with electric lights and then we just suddenly shut off the electric light. So when we do that, generation after generation after generation, the body tries to evolve to deal with that. So how is it going to do its melatonin production when it can't do it in a natural sense? But again, we're pre-programmed to have it do it naturally as the light level decreases. So that's why I would suggest, regardless of what time you go to sleep, you start at least turning down the lights in your house. Replace all the light switches. Instead of the up and down switch, replace it with a dimmer, a knob that you can turn. So about maybe 40 minutes before you know you're going to go to sleep, start turning down all the lights in your house, lower and lower, even the light on your screen of your computer. I don't recommend looking at a computer screen
Yeah.
before going to sleep, because computer screens can be very stimulating. Not the screen itself, but what you're looking at.
Hmm.
But even there, in fact, there's an app for laptops that senses the light, and as the light gets lower and lower, it starts lowering the brightness of the screen, and
Oh, nice.
that's a good app to have if you don't want to remember to do it manually. So that 10 minutes before you're ready to go to sleep, it's really very dark in your house, but your eyes have adjusted, so it's not bad. Your brain is now producing melatonin, and you do this long enough, and you get rid of that between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. thing, and you get back to a more normal rhythm, a circadian rhythm for your body. And again, the more normal your rhythms are, whether it's hormones or whatever they're dealing with,
Hmm.
the healthier it is for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And what are your thoughts about sleeping, like taking sleeping breaks during the day?
Well, if you can fall asleep during the day, it's probably a good idea to take that nap, but it's also a very bad thing that you can fall asleep during the day. That's a sign of you're not getting enough sleep, and you're not getting enough restorative sleep. In other words, you could be sleeping for 8 hours. Some people sleep for 8 hours or 9 hours. They wake up and they're still exhausted. That's
Mm-hmm.
because they got a lot of phase one, two, and three, but they didn't get enough of phase four
Yeah.
during those 8 hours. So that's really very important. And then those people will tend to fall asleep during the day or behind the wheel, which is terrible if that happens. But so if that's happening, I'm not going to say yes, it's good. You should take a nap. But I know people who are 70 years old and have been natural hygienists for many, many decades. They don't take naps, but all their 70-year-old friends who eat a typical Western diet,
Mm-hmm.
they got to take a nap. They have
Yeah.
to take a nap. So in other words, just because the large portion of the population, as you get older, takes naps, doesn't mean it's normal for the human body to take naps.
Right. Right. And a lot of people usually take naps after a huge meal.
Well, yeah, because like I said before in a previous video, digestion is the most energy
Yeah.
intensive process the human body has. So if you eat a diet anything less than the healthiest diet, which is very easy to digest, fruit is very easy to digest unless you, of course, you overeat on it or you miscombine certain fruits. Um, yeah, the classic example is Thanksgiving dinner in the United States where they eat, whole turkeys and everything, and they have to loosen their belts
Yeah.
uh, and then they fall asleep. And it's not because of the tryptophan from turkey. They could be eating pig, they could be eating ham. They just overeat, and the body's like, oh God, this is so energy intensive that the body actually has to shut you down in order to be able to digest the meal. It's just trying to turn off all unnecessary processes, including you
Yeah.
being awake.
To send the energy to digestion. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Well, let us know if you have any questions below, guys, and we'll see you on the next video.